maybe I can try to go over some of my thoughts on, let's see, God of War. Break it down piece by piece, you know. 3 years after the previous game. Okay, so that would make Treyas about 15. Pretty deep into Fimbulwinter. They've just been, surviving that whole time, contemplating what is to come. But I really gotta talk about, like, the standout moment in Chapter 1, obviously, is when Odin and Thor show up. And I remember the director saying that, like, they really wanted to go for, like, a Quentin Tarantino vibe, which I think they did perfectly. Because it was just them talking. The tension is always there, and it's building, and you never really know when it's gonna break. Much like that, like the opening scene in Inglourious Bastards, or lots of scenes in like Quentin Tarantino movies where it's just really dialogue heavy. It's so good. Or like maybe like in Inglourious Bastards again, the bar scene. That scene goes on for so long, but it's so good. And then everything comes crashing down, and then we have this like multi-phase boss fight with Thor that like is, in my opinion, better than the final fight. Most partially because like you get this multi-phase part, like you have different like arenas to fight in, and like it really moves around. And I kind of that's what I wanted out of the final boss fight. But most of the boss fights took place in front of the grand cabin or whatever the fuck they call it, which was on purpose. The writers said that like they brought the fight to like Kratos' front door, like with Balder was there, and then Thor and Odin. They brought it to Kratos' front door, so Kratos brought the fight to their front door. So thematically, it's fitting, but in terms of like spectacle, it's pretty meh, That being said, the boss fights themselves were really good, really, really, really cool. But it would have been cool to like, I said this earlier, but to like maybe to fight off Ragnarok to help like protect the Midgardians or something, which I feel like is something like the older games would have done, because like you get this like the original games give you this massive scale. It's so cool, and I know why they don't do it in this game. It's much more close and personal, which is amazing in its own right. There's advantages and disadvantages to both, like this grand scale view and the close and personal perspective. But yeah, that first chapter is just so good. And yeah, Odin, like Thor's just there, and he is just such a huge, imposing presence, while Odin gives like his fucking his fucking evil monologue. You just know he's a fucking shit talker. He's like he's full of shit, but he's also so convincing. He's very, very convincing throughout the game, and he just has this vibe. He has this sort of he somehow comes off as full of shit and incredibly genuine at the same time, and I think that's the brilliance of Odin. Like he is like genuine and honest, but there's always like an ulterior motive to that. He will do anything to reach his end goal because he thinks having all the knowledge, having all the answers will be enough to justify everything he'll do. Yeah, it's pretty smart. Yeah. And the whole Tyr thing, him being disguised as Tyr, I did not see it coming. But on the second playthrough, it's so obvious that I kind of beat myself up for not noticing it. But like on the first playthrough, it's just like you never would have expected that. Cause, and this is kind of like a fault with some like the writing, cause like they kind of forced it in, because when they were writing this, it was Tyr in the beginning. It really was him. And then partway through development, they were like, what if he's Odin the whole time? And they're like, okay, we got to rewrite stuff. Kind of like how in the first game, somebody came to Cory Barlog and he's like, what if Atreus is Loki? And they're like, what? We have to rewrite the story. But in retrospect, like, Odin did a brilliant job trying to use, like, Tyr's, like, quest for peace as a justification for not fighting. But he also subtly, like, would he would encourage Atreus to, like, seek things out that were or against everybody's best interest, but were in Odin's best interest. Like, it was like on a second playthrough, it's pretty obvious. But it's just brilliant how in the first, like, it is and isn't, because like it just, you don't. I guess the hints were. It's hard because like I was just so like, what? Like, I think part of it comes from disappointment. I really wanted like Tyr to. I really wanted there to be Tyr. I really wanted to like do this with Tyr and see Tyr, and it was so built up. He was so built up, you know? And then you find out he wasn't even there the whole time. Like, I know in the post game you find Tyr, the real Tyr, and you find out he's alive, and it's crazy, and it feels like you don't know him at all. I think it would have been cooler if, like, say, like, you find him, you bust him out of prison during Ragnarok, and then he fights during Ragnarok. That would have been insane. Maybe he could, you know, he could be the one to like hold off Ragnarok. You know, this would go with his character. He could be the one to fight off Ragnarok to protect the Midgardians. It's kind of poetic too, because he was always the friend of the giants. Now he has to fight off a giant to protect the Midgardians. Dang, dude, that would have been so good. Why didn't they hire me for the right thing? Shit. Ooh, dude. Oh. It's times like this when I realize, like, I am a writer, you know? Like, yeah, I'm smart sometimes. Yo, check it out. OREGONIA and the Legend of the Meese. Available on Amazon. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It is my first work. It's not perfect, but I've tried to perfect it over the years. And it is good. Good. But especially early on, like, they did a good job convincing me, at least, that like Tyr doesn't want to fight and he feels bad for it, and it all ties in with Odin's narrative. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more like the more I'm willing to, like, the more I start to see it, like, oh yeah, from a writing perspective, like, this actually works. Even if I was disappointed initially, because they kind of subverted those expectations. Like, you know, I just want certain things, you know, and sometimes they, boom, surprise, you know. So yeah, it really ties in together with like Odin trying to prevent them from progressing while also adhering to Tyr's sort of pacifism. Is that the right word? Where you don't want to fight. Let's talk about like Jotunheim. I think it drags on for too long. I think it could have been split into like 2 sections. I think Atreus could have come back later or something. Even the developers were like, this is either going to work or it's not. And some people are going to love it or some people are going to hate it. And I like all of the story stuff that happens. There were parts that I think there was a whole section, a whole chunk of the like experience or like that part where like I think it just didn't need to exist. I don't think it added much of anything other than character interaction, but I think we get enough, you know, character interaction and enough really good moments to justify not having that one part there. I think it's the part where they go inside the hole. It's been a while, and there was just it went on for so long, and that's kind of an issue with a lot of this game. I think some of like the main quests go on for so long. They are so long. And I never. You would fit perfectly if you wrote the whole thingy. I don't know about that. It takes teams of writers, you know. Teams of writers, very talented people to make this story. I certainly couldn't do it on my by myself. And you also have to consider, like, they have to interweave the story they want to tell into a video game. So they have to fit their story into like a video game. In my novel, for instance, it might feel kind of video gamey at times because a lot of my storytelling and a lot of my favorite stories are from video games. But like, for instance, I think a video game would probably give you more opportunities. Like, it would probably bring all 5 of the main characters together sooner. Or break up moments throughout the story to play as all the characters. Whereas in my book, they don't really truly come together until near the end. And they get a power up, but it's in like the last quarter of the book they get this power up. In a video game, you'd want them to have this power up like a lot earlier, so you could really get to experience all the cool magical abilities and stuff. Which it's one of my few regrets. I kind of wish that I would have given them these abilities, like their magical abilities, a lot sooner. But I also have I plan on making 2 more books about this. Alright, back to God of War. Breaking the Binding Curse. You know what? I mean, I wasn't expecting, like, I really thought Freya, it's hard to look back and at my thoughts about Freya before playing the game, because like in the beginning she's fighting you, she wants to kill you. But Atreus provides her with new information that I think makes her reconsider her motives. Gives her a little bit of hope that maybe she can get her revenge on Odin and not have to take it out on Kratos. And even I've even heard the developers, Luna, talk about how like close to the like they knew it was going to be really hard to convince people that like Freya is willing to set aside her anger and vengeance to team up with Kratos. And after a second playthrough, I think they did a pretty good job. Like, Atreus planted those seeds. Her motives change, and I think she's willing to put her anger aside long enough to team up with Kratos. And even after she's free, she decides to join him, and she becomes like our secondary character, which is crazy. I wasn't expecting that. And the developers knew it was going to be hard to pull off, but I think they did a pretty good job. Oh, Luna, you're so cute. And it's like not everything's all hunky-dory afterwards too. Just made a Wattpad account. Hey, you can read the first like 6 chapters for free. That's cool. Accepting the invitation. Ooh, like, I love how like Atreus comes to terms like with the fact that he's going to team up with Odin. He's like, because when he initially hears it, he thinks like this is a betrayal of his father. Yeah, so but as the story progresses, he rethinks, and his perspective changes on what he's been told. He knows like he can follow this prophecy, but it's been reinterpreted. You know, it's not a betrayal. He's doing it with good intentions. It's hard to find the right words because it's been a little bit since I played that part, but I think basically he comes at it from a new perspective, or he really tries to, like, he really wants. He's debating with himself, trying to justify his decision to go to Asgard, but then he learned, like, he learns that it actually was a good decision, like, and because he was worried about how he might turn out, or like what this would mean for his father and his friends. But then he like meets Thor, he meets Thrud, he meets Odin, and he gets to know these people and their motivations. And he wants to like help them. He wants what's best for everybody, even his like enemies, you know. So him going to Asgard eventually becomes this thing that is true to himself without betraying those close to him, and even they come to accept that, and they trust him. Trust is a big thing in this game. Everybody like really learns to like trust each other. The only one who can't trust, is unwilling or unable, is Odin, and that's why he fails. He can't trust the people in his life. He has to have the answers, the capital T truth. Maybe in some magical mythical existence, maybe that's possible, but in ours, there is no obtaining the capital T truth, at least as far as we know, or what that even would mean. I don't believe in a higher power. I don't believe that there is a capital P purpose. We just kind of exist here, and we just make the best of it. Yeah, I really like that. And he, like, Loki kind of, and it kind of fits with like the lore too, because Loki kind of becomes, like, Odin becomes kind of a sort of father figure, and I think Odin kind of looks at Loki like a son. So even though they don't have like this relationship, this years on relationship, like he didn't raise him, but they still kind of had that relationship a little bit, which is funny because it ties back into actual lore, which is neat, pretty neat. Visiting the Norns. Oh, I loved this scene. And I think I mentioned this in a previous stream. But like they go to visit the Norns to get the answers that they seek, and they're told, like, the Norns don't see the future. It's just that people, and this ties back to what Brock said, because Brock said that, you know, there's like the nature of the form of the thing and the nature of the thing. And the Norns, they make their predictions based off the nature of people. They can make like 99% accurate predictions based on, like, because their natures are just so readable, so predictable. Yeah, they knew that he would kill, Heimdall would kill Atreus, and Kratos would stop him. But it wasn't until like the end that Kratos, his nature changed. And the beautiful thing is that Atreus is the one who changes these people's natures, and by changing their nature, they change their fate. It's brilliant, and I think like within the lore of the game, it works too. With what we've established with like the Norns and prophecy, it's all kind of just based off reading people's nature, predicting what people like. It's like you can change. Yeah, you change your fate by changing your nature. It's the nature of the thing, not the form. It's really cool that like something like Brock of all people would give us this sort of beautiful insight that ties back to the whole fucking story. Brock, like, he gave us the answer. And yeah, the scene with the Norns is just, it's so funny, and it's kind of meta too, where they talk about like the acts, like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Yeah, it was a really good scene. Reunion with Fenrir. Yes. I think they kind of mixed up some of the mythology here. They just kind of reinvented it by putting like Fenrir's soul into this big ass wolf, and we get the big wolf boy who could tear through reality. It's Atreus fixing his own mistakes and doing it his way, which is, you know, good for his character. And then we get Fenrir back, and he's a very good boy, facing the inevitable. Okay, so like with the wolves, Scotty and Skull Hall or something, they free the moon, and this leads to the death of Heimdall. I love that, like, even though they're kind of following the prophecies, to Kratos, it's about doing what's necessary. It's about following your own path, and sometimes they can be predictable. There's just things that like he cannot let Heimdall kill Atreus, whether it's part of prophecy or not. And Kratos, he's always denied fate, and very successfully too. If anybody can break the chains of fate, it's Kratos. Is Chains of Fate a title of one of the God of War games? Did I? The Final Fragment. Yeah, I guess Thor reaches his breaking point. Sif is like trying to play both sides, you know, because like she hates Odin. She hates Atreus because Atreus and Kratos killed the sons. See, like she changes, like when there's finally an opportunity to stop Odin, she switches sides, which makes sense. I think I'd have to do like some like a more like research or really look into like Sif as a character, because on the surface it feels a little muddled. She's justified in a lot of things they do, but her motivations are a little mixed to me. I might have to look into that more. Ragnarok. I like the whole Surtur thing, and like how Surtur and his love, they share their hearts because they can't be together. I don't remember why they can't be together. I assume it's to prevent Ragnarok. I think. But then like he's got, you know, he's like, you got the primordial flame and we can use that to change me. It's like, okay, this is so I think I read somewhere that this part of the game is kind of muddled, like because they had to do some rewrites. The whole Surtur part, I think it's fine. I like the idea that like this primordial flame, well, yeah, God of War stuff. The primordial flame extends to like every pantheon. It's all like the fire, the primordial fire, like the source of fire come in all places, all theologies comes from the same place, which is pretty cool. And this is enough to like, so the primordial flame, the source of Surtur's power, mixed with the Ice Lady's heart, boom, Ragnarok. I think it works. It's thematic. He's able to keep the love of his life safe while also stopping Odin, which he knew needed to happen. And then we get that, just like the rift or whatever that cool magical place was, the spark, like that place was cool. And the boss fights with the and that kind of reminds me, brings up another thing about the Valkyries. So like the Valkyries are like completely a side quest in the first game, but in this game, the sequel, they're treated as if like they were part of the main quest, which is really, really cool. Like it really shows that like it really brings into perspective like the story, and not just the story, but like everything they did. Because like they did a lot of quests, they did a lot of things in the first game, but arguably the hardest and most important was the Valkyries, and the fact that that is brought in and made like a bit canon to like the story and played a pivotal part in the sequel was really, really cool, because that was a lot of hard work for us. Also, what's the name of your book again? It is called OREGONIA and the Legend of the Mies. Some people don't know how to pronounce Mies. It's pronounced Mies. Mies. So yeah, it was really cool that they brought in, you know, the Valkyries and made all that stuff relevant. And then we watched this part today. The whole camp scene, Faye's final scene. So good. So like every scene, those three scenes she has, those three sequences are all really good, and they really had to pull this off. She did a great job, and the message is beautiful. Even after death, she ensured that Kratos and Atreus would have a good life ahead of them, that they could forge their own path, deny the giants' prophecies, deny the Norns' fate. Brilliant stuff. That's kind of one of the themes in one of the novels I'm working on. That's why it's called Fate Reforged, because they are reforging their fate. The main characters are fated to. There are other characters, very important characters. They have very tragic fates, and our main characters, they reforge their fate, and in doing so, reforge everyone's fate. But you know, that book might be another, I don't know, 10 years. I really don't know. So the whole war speech, the blowing of Gallarhorn, very cool sequence. Like they start the war and the music starts off so good. It's like, it's kind of low energy but very ominous, and I think it matches like war very, very well. I think they did an amazing job. So good. It really gives the player the sense that this is it. Breaching the wall, just all the fights, getting to see like Jormungandr and Thor fighting off in the distance. And again, I'll say this again, I wish we were, as the player, we were more involved. Like, I think it would have been cool if, like, I don't know, Kratos or Tyr fought off Ragnarok, and then like maybe Atreus assists Jormungandr with the fight against Thor. That would have been really nice, but we didn't get that. It's a shame. I feel like older God of War games would have done that, but you take some, you lose some, you know. And then that's when Sif switches sides, and Thrud comes to understand. And then when she sees her father murdered, she really understands. Odin is such an asshole, you know. He's so manipulative, and he knows that, like, talking down to Thor, because nobody talks down to Thor. Nobody fucks with Thor. But by Odin just asserting dominance over Thor, like, the whole time, like that's how he manipulates him. It's crazy. And then I think Thor kind of went out like a bitch. I was a little disappointed by that. It was dramatic, and it was thematic for the story, especially for Thrud having to see it. But I think there could have been something, you know, maybe perhaps we could have teamed up with Thor, you know, because he's got like he's got some animations and stuff. You know, he can fight with like Atreus. Kratos and Thor could have teamed up on Odin, and I don't know. I feel like there could have just been some in terms of spectacle, a little more. I think I've said it enough. I've beaten the dead horse enough on this. The story and the final chapter are really, really good. But I think we all just wanted a little bit more in terms of spectacle. And I think I can bring spectacle and make it thematically and narratively appropriate, as I've said in this rant so far. The whole fight with Odin, it's a sweet boss fight. It's a good boss fight. And how all three teamed up, Freya, Kratos, and Atreus. We got to do one of those sweet fucking combos like at the end of God of War 1. Oh, so cool. So cool. Odin gets wrecked. He gets his shit wrecked. I think I need to play on a harder difficulty because I think the Odin fight and the Thor fights were a little too easy. I love the final scene because Odin and Atreus, like, they really built like a relationship. They built this rapport and this sort of trust, this admiration for one another. And Atreus really tried to reach Odin, but Odin is the only one who wasn't able to trust him. To trust that there is a different path forward than the one he's on. Fuck. Wow, okay. They did a really good job. This is character building, man. Oh man. Like, I just came to that realization. Like, I said that thing about trust earlier, but he couldn't trust Atreus to follow a different path. He was stuck on his path, and everybody else found a different path. Oh, that's so thematically appropriate. Oh, that's good writing. Yeah, love the scene. And then, like, even Freya found a different path. She didn't, like, she just needed to let him know that he doesn't have power over her anymore and that she's free. But that wasn't enough for Sindri. Sindri's pain, Sindri's tragedy is fresh. And he may never heal. He feels, God, like, we haven't watched the funeral yet. We haven't done the funeral yet in New Game Plus, but he feels like he's lost everything. And it's heartbreaking to see him, like, so mad at Atreus. But you know what, I really, because in the folklore, Odin is killed by Fenrir. I think Fenrir eats him. It would have been really cool if like, Sindri took the marble and he, like, threw it to Fenrir and Fenrir destroyed it. Then it would have all tied back in to the mythos, you know. But oh well. That's how I would have done it, man. Dang it, I wish I would have done that. Have you ever thought of making a game? I can't make video. I mean, I made some video games in high school with, like, this software. I did make a couple games. They were pretty cool too. I think I still have them on a flash drive somewhere. I don't have enough knowledge or skill or talent to tell my stories through a video game. Maybe one day I could become part of some writing staff or work on an indie game with someone. I don't know. I feel like it'd be tough to write for other people and write their stories. My wife had some ideas, but her ideas were so scatterbrained. She's like, this. But I was able to connect all of her fractured ideas into, like, a cohesive, I was able to connect them cohesively, which I was proud of. And I still kind of want to tell that story if she's willing. Maybe we can make it a kid's book and make it really short, because I gotta take a break from writing long ass stories. Oh, the last thing we should probably talk about is the boy leaving on his own quest. He feels he has to find the other giants, and he's grown so much. He's become the man his father has always envisioned for him. He's actually become more than that, because Kratos is, like, his perspective has changed, and now he sees the man his son has become, and not maybe the way he's always seen it, but because Atreus changed Kratos and made Kratos better. And that, I think, is what I think every parent would want. To, like, that's when you know you've done right, when your children help you become better people. That's what I try to do that for my family, you know. They have their flaws and I have mine, but I try to help them become, like, better people, or that to help those things about themselves. And everybody needs help, you know. Yeah, honestly, I think writing is easier. Writing by itself, like, is easier, but the writing process and actually making a good story is really hard. Like, writing the book was almost the easiest part. But going back through, really fleshing it out, making it what it is now, was very hard. But if I can start off with better foundations and really focus on, like, I've learned so much from writing my novel, and I can bring that back into to my sequel and all the other writing. I'm currently writing another book, and I feel like Oregonia, I've been kind of winging it. I need to not wing it anymore. The boy has to leave. He has to forge his own path. I love how it all ties back. They did such a good job, because I've seen videos online, and I've watched videos online where like people criticize this game. They say I've seen this one video, they calling it a disaster disguised as a masterpiece. And there are some parts that are really like kind of, I can see, because they put so much. Like, this is like a game and a half. There is so much content, it almost distracts from the story. That was probably one of my biggest complaints during my first playthroughs. Like, there were too many distractions. There were these super long main quests and super long side quests that detracted from. I just really wanted to experience the story. So I did a lot of side quests, but I had to put a lot of stuff off until post game. And I didn't feel like I needed to do that in the first game. The stakes were like a lot lower, so it seemed like doing side quests was okay to do. In this game, the stakes are so high, it feels kind of weird to do side quests. And that's where like Final Fantasy VII does a really good job, because the stakes get really high in that game, but there are like really like lull points where like there are opportunities to do side quests and help people. And there are some other games that I think do that. I don't know off the top of my head. Final Fantasy VII did a good job with that. And I think the first God of War did that. The first in the fucking new series did a good job. Yeah, who knows what the future of the series is going to be like. I kind of expected like Atreus DLC. I think a lot of us expected Atreus DLC. I think if they were going to do Atreus DLC, I'd like to see a time skip. I'd like to see him become physically stronger. So, because like playing as Atreus it certainly has its limitations, like in terms of his physical power. That's why you do not have to play for him very long. Yeah, I'd like to see him become physically stronger and maybe reach the end of his journey, and then maybe after he finds all the marbles or all the giants, we reunite with Kratos. Maybe for like one cool big boss fight. Where Kratos is like a side character who you could issue commands to. Ooh, that would be cool. That would be really cool. Oh, you know one thing I didn't really get to talk about? The spear, man. Oh, wow. It's like, I don't know, dude. It's so cool. It's one of my new favorite weapons in the series. It's just so insanely cool. And it also it also ties back to like what Brock said about like it's not the form of the thing, it's the nature of the thing. I love how Brock's philosophy on smithing ties back to fate itself and changing fate. It's so good. And I could probably do a deeper dive on the spear itself and what it means symbolically, but I don't think I'm going to do that in this video. I sadly haven't played God of War yet. Well, I'm glad that you just cut like the ending, so I didn't have to spoil the entire game for you. Because that's pretty much the end of my rants, you guys. That's it. We did it. Hey, say hi to Luna. She's trying to step on my keyboard again. Bad kitty. Oh, he's a cute little baby. I love her so much. He's so cute. Stella. She's laying in the baby's changing table. Get out of the baby's changing table. That's not yours. I'm gonna have to wash that. Stella, she's a little scaredy cat. She doesn't like it when I pick her up. Here, I'll try though. I don't think anybody here has met Stella. Luna, get off the changing table, man. Come here, Stella. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. This is Stella. She doesn't like to be held. She doesn't even like to be pet. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's okay. It's okay. Say hi. Say hi to everyone. You trust me, don't you? It's okay. What do you think I'm gonna do? Yeah, she's not a very affectionate cat. She shows it in her own ways, and it's very weird. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching the finale to God of War. New Game Plus. It was so good. I forgot how good it was. And thanks for listening to me rant about the game for an hour. That was fun. I enjoyed that. And I'll try to make a video out of it. Thanks for watching, guys. Super duper appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching on Twitch, follow and share. Do all the stuff. I don't care. If you're on the Discord, follow the Discord. I will put up an event for the next stream. So I will try to let everybody know ahead of time when the next stream is. All right, guys. That's it. Thanks for watching. Peace. Oh. All right, guys. Oh, God. Oh, God. Her hair just went everywhere when I clapped my hands. Oh, my God. It was like powder. Jesus. Okay. All right. Oh, it's all over me.